health, diet and nutrition. So that when you said that to me, I'm like, excellent topic for today, because this goes right into what our listeners and viewers wanted to discuss. So we are going live in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. Now, I will say that there's really no need for me to go further with an introduction about myself. However, I do want to announce that, as always, the first Thursday of every month, we have with us in studio online our monthly contributor, Rebecca Boova, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist. Becca, thank you for tuning in today.
Hello, good afternoon.
And I want to do a little business with the Globe with regard to our sponsor, who daily brings you 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is Fiji water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock. The water collects in a natural, sustainable, artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the cap. Fiji water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And of course, you'll save money at FijiWater.com. So as I announced, with us today, Rebecca Boova, BeccaTheDietitian.com is with us live here in 3D. And I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, you have sent in so many communications throughout the month. And interestingly enough, Becca has selected the topic for the month. And prior to us even discussing it, you had sent in a couple of communications regarding this topic today. So I'm going to step aside and let Becca take over to discuss the topic of today, and then we'll get into some of the communications that were sent in from all of our listeners and viewers. So Becca, the floor is yours, or I should say the mic is yours, as we go.
All right, let's do it. So I know I've talked a lot in the past about how what you eat and what you put into your body and how you treat your body can really have an effect on your risk of things like diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease. And then also, if you already have these types of illnesses or diseases, what you put into your body can also...
Okay, it appears we lost Becca for a moment.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
Nope, that's okay.
So,
technology at its best.
So I was just saying how what you put into your body and your diet, it can either help you prevent or control certain chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and kidney disease, and many other things like that. But it also is really important for your mental health and wellness. So whether you have a diagnosed mental health condition or just in general for your brain function and your overall outlook on life, your diet and how you treat your body is just so important. So I want to talk today about some foods that are protective of your mental health, among other things, of course, and then specific compounds in foods that are really good that we want to promote. And then I'm also going to touch on some things that might negatively impact your mental health or worsen symptoms of things like anxiety and depression or other mental illnesses that are out there. So I will start with the positive. So basically, we have macronutrients that we need, and those three things are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So from those three groups of macronutrients, there's going to be good things, and there's also going to be bad things. So I'm going to start with fats, and I'm going to talk about the healthy fats that are going to be good for your mental health, and also good for things like diabetes prevention, heart disease prevention, things like that. So omega-3s, DHA, and EPA, these are a few different polyunsaturated fats that are found in things like fatty fish, flax seeds, chia seeds, different nuts and seeds, healthy oils, stuff like that. Those are going to be really, really good for your mental health. in addition to monounsaturated fats. So those are also going to be found in a lot of the same foods like vegetable oils, nuts and seeds, avocados, things like that. So those are things that we definitely want to promote in our diet in the fat category, and then later I'll touch on the types of fats that we want to avoid. Next, I'm going to just touch on carbohydrates. So low glycemic, complex carbohydrate sources. So your whole grains, beans and legumes, fruits and vegetables. These are going to also be really good for your mental health. And another really positive thing about these is that whenever they're digested and broken down in your gut by your gut bacteria, they're going to produce what's called short-chain fatty acids. And these short-chain fatty acids are also really, really important for supporting your mental health. So that kind of, touches a little bit on the gut microbiome, which I've talked about before. And everything about the foods that I'm going to talk about are going to be supportive of the microbiome and inadvertently your mental health as well. So next, the third macronutrient would be your proteins, specifically amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. So there's 3 different ones that were in different studies they've done were found to be the best promoters of mental health. And that would be tryptophan, which you've probably heard about around Thanksgiving time,
yes.
Glycine, and L-ornithine, which is a precursor to arginine. So those are going to really be found in any plant and animal protein sources. They're in a variety of different ones, but they're pretty easy to get if you're eating enough proteins, which most Americans do. The micronutrients that are going to be supportive of mental health would be B vitamins, specifically niacin, vitamin C, vitamin E, manganese, copper, iron, calcium, potassium, magnesium, and then some different compounds called polyphenols, which are usually found in berries, nuts, green leafy vegetables, whole grains, glucosinolates. These types of things are found in a lot of your broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, collard greens, those types of foods. And then carotenoids, which are found in a lot of your red, yellow, and orange fruits and vegetables. So yams, watermelon, cantaloupe, bell peppers, tomatoes, carrots, things like that. So all those foods and nutrients that I just mentioned are really going to be supportive of your mental health among all those other chronic diseases out there. So we definitely want to be promoting them in our diet as much as possible. And then there's certain foods that we definitely want to avoid, which can be harmful to our mental health. So they can actually, if we eat too many of them or eat them too frequently, they can make you have, worsened symptoms of depression, anxiety, and other things, or they can just kind of make you feel yucky in general if you don't have one of those conditions. So these are going to be your high-calorie foods, processed meats, too much added sugar, too many simple carbohydrates or high glycemic foods in your diet. So that would be like white rice, white bread, your sugary beverages, hydrogenated fats and hydrogenated oils, and then certain preservatives too. So all these types of foods tend to be pro-inflammatory, and they promote the release of something called cytokines in our body. And cytokines are really bad because they cause oxidative stress and inflammation. So that basically, it's just wreaking havoc all over your body, and it can impact your body's ability to absorb all those good nutrients. So that's why we definitely want to avoid those types of things in our diet. So in general, just all the good things that I mentioned before, the Mediterranean diet or the DASH diet or a combination of those 2 diets, that's going to be very supportive of mental health. There's several studies out there that support this. I'm going to make a blog post later today that's going to have citations and references for all these things if you're interested in looking at that later, and that will be posted on the Facebook page. But yeah, so those are really the main things. All the general principles are the same as pretty much everything else that I talk about. So making sure to eat your healthy grain products, your whole grains, consuming lots of fruits and vegetables, lean meats and other protein sources, lots of nuts and seeds and legumes, and then minimizing your unhealthy fats and your added sugar and sweet products in your diet.
So, this is very interesting because one of our listeners and viewers, and I'll use this for an example, and then I'm going to ask Becca to walk us through a few other items regarding what she just shared with us, because one of our listeners and viewers said that they've been dealing with some depression for quite some time, and they wanted to know, how do you deal with the depression by dealing with it by nutrition and diet, so that they can become more productive, because the depression is causing them to lose productivity. So, I think this is going to be very important for all of us to recognize just how important food and diet and nutrition is having an impact on our mental well-being. So Becca, could you just kind of perhaps walk our listener and viewer through what they can eat and really improve their mental health and relieve some of that depression? Anything particular?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, so and I first want to start off by saying this is extremely common, especially over the last year. The isolation and just the stress of living through a pandemic, mental health issues and mental illness is at a really high point in society. So a lot of people are suffering from this. You're not alone. You should definitely talk to your physician or consider talking to a psychiatrist or a therapist or someone just to kind of get your feelings out there. But, of course, there's things you can do diet-wise to help minimize those symptoms as well. So eating more fresh foods, fruits and veggies, whole grains, minimally processed foods, staying away from added sugar. So a lot of times when we're not feeling great, we tend to gravitate towards those comfort foods. But the comfort foods, they tend to be those bad things that I mentioned earlier. So we really want to make a concerted effort to try and eat more of those healthful foods, so the fresh foods, minimally processed, and avoid the bad stuff. And that is going to really help you feel better, your mental states get in a better place. That's going to be so important. So fatty fish are great. Any fruit and vegetable source, such as leafy green vegetables, those red, yellow, and orange veggies are great. Whole grains, all that kind of stuff is going to be really important for your diet.
So, I really want to explore this further, because Becca is with us every month because we want everyone to be whole in their body, mind, and spirit. And mental health is definitely impacted by our diet and our nutrition. So we want to make certain that we eliminate the things that are not good for us. But I want Becca to also weigh in for me, because one of our listeners and viewers had another comment about fruits and vegetables. And one of our listeners and viewers wanted to know, before I do a little business with the Globe once again for one of our sponsors, I'm just going to go through this. What would you recommend for someone who does not really enjoy a variety of fruit, but only, and I can kind of lean to this myself, there are only certain fruits that I will eat, but how much fruit should they eat per day, and what fruits would you recommend for someone to eat if fruit is not their favorite food?
So if you're a bit of a picky eater, taking a multivitamin can always be a good idea, just to kind of cover your bases and make sure you're getting enough of all those different nutrients. But it's also important to remember that the best way to utilize nutrients is going to be from food sources of them. So some of those micronutrients that I mentioned before were vitamin C. What else did I mention? So vitamin C is a big one, and that's going to be like your citrus fruits. Also in things like strawberries, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, things like that. But if you're not a huge fan of, like, let's say fruits, a lot of those nutrients are also going to be found in other types of foods too. So a lot of the ones that are found in fruits are also found in vegetables. So maybe if you prefer one of those things over the other, you could kind of lean a little bit more heavy on vegetables, say, if you're not a huge fan of fruits, or vice versa. But, it's also important to remember that, even if we don't necessarily love doing something, we kind of have to force ourselves to get into the habit of doing it because it's good for us. So the same way, if your doctor prescribed a medication that they said was going to help, your symptoms or treat a disease you have, you're going to listen to your doctor. So the same is true for food. Food is medicine. We want to make sure that, you're not forcing yourself to do things that you don't like, but just try and push yourself and try new things and see if you can maybe develop a taste for them over time. Another good way to would be to kind of hide different fruits and veggies and foods. So if you really just can't stand broccoli, but you love cheese, maybe put cheese on your broccoli, and that could help you eat it.
Yes.
So things like that can maybe mask the flavor, but still help you get those good nutrients. Another great way to do that would be smoothies. Smoothies are really popular, so that's a good idea as well.
Excellent. So I resembled this remark when I read this communication that came in, because I prefer really only bananas, pineapple, and blueberries. And so,
well, that's a good variety. You got your different colors there. You have yellow, blue, and white. So
okay.
You're doing okay.
So I'm okay there. Okay, so that's, but I read this communication. I'm saying we don't realize how intentional we have to be, and Becca just cleared that up for us. Just as your doctor would prescribe medicine for you, food is medicine. So we're not trying to torture you. What we're just trying to do is encourage you to make some adjustments in the way that we live our lifestyle when it comes to food and when it comes to diet and nutrition. So Becca, I really want to get through some more communications and some more of the topic. And as you heard Becca indicate earlier, there are going to be information posted. She's going to be doing a blog. We will be posting information on Facebook, and we want you to go and look at her website, view the blog, BeccaTheDietitian.com. There's information available to all of us that is going to help us be more intentional in our diet and nutrition. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer and you have not been for the previous 90 days, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will place you into our queue so that you can become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. Now, I know I kind of stumbled over my words a bit just because I'm so excited about getting back to Becca here, but I had to do a little business with the Globe. So Becca, I'm going to remind everyone, Becca takes insurances also. Now, Becca, if you would share with our listeners and viewers the insurances that you currently are taking so that they can call their insurer and determine how they can take advantage of your services.
Of course. So currently I'm only accepting insurances from Pennsylvania, but I am working very hard to get my license for Delaware. It just takes a period of time for them to check all your paperwork and make sure everything is good. And then once that happens, I will definitely start to get credentialed in Delaware. But at this point, I am accepting Aetna, Highmark, AmeriHealth, Independence Blue Cross, Medicare, and I am just pending with Cigna and United Healthcare at this time.
Excellent, excellent. So now Medicare, are you able to accept that from anywhere? Anyone that's on Medicare?
I believe it's just in Pennsylvania at this point. Again, I just have to wait for my license in Delaware. So with Medicare, diabetes and kidney disease, if you have one of those diagnoses, dietitian visits are automatically covered. You don't need a referral. If you don't have one of those diagnoses and you want to see a dietitian, you would just need a referral from your physician. Okay.
So the reason I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of this is because Becca takes insurance, and you want to make sure that you reach out to your insurer to take advantage of that opportunity to, first of all, at least reduce your cost and perhaps even eliminate some of it. So let's just say that she will be accepting insurances in Delaware also very soon, so we'll keep you posted on that. But in addition to that, I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, and Becca and I are in the process of finalizing what we're going to be doing. We're going to have one of our listeners and viewers are going to be selected in July You will be selected starting for July 1st to become a client of BeccaTheDietitian.com. So Rebecca Boova will be your nutritionist. She will provide you with a plan. We're going to put together a package so that we are going to give away to one of our listeners and viewers. And because we're giving that away, giving you that advantage and that privilege, we are going to request that whoever is selected is going to be responsible for allowing us to track your progress from July 1st until December 31st of 2021. So I'm excited about that, and I know that Becca's going to provide a program that we are going to make certain that someone benefits from the health and wellness plan that is put together. So I'm excited about this. So I will be sharing more details with all of our listeners and viewers as Becca and I finalize the details of that. But we are going to track the progress, and we're going to talk about that here on the air, right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So Becca, I want to ask another question for one of our listeners and viewers who wanted to know, what should you do to reduce late night snacking? Do we all have a problem with this?
You know what? This is so common, and I do it too. I think that, it's just kind of a natural habit that we get into.
The later we stay up, the more we snack. Yeah.
So just like any habit, it takes time to break, and it takes a lot of effort to break. So I think they say it takes about 3 weeks to either form or break a habit or create a new habit. So you got to just think of it in that way. So sometimes what I do if I don't want to eat after dinner, I brush my teeth. That way,
yes,
it's already been done. I can't eat after that.
Right.
Otherwise, I'll have to do, that whole 2 minutes of brushing over again. So that's something that I have found works for me. For other people, it's hard, but, we want to just practice that mindfulness and mindful eating. So kind of evaluate if you're actually hungry. I like to say to use the hunger scale. So if 1 is not hungry at all and 10 is starving, kind of evaluate where you are on that hunger scale. If you're somewhere around a 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, I would definitely want you to eat at that point. But if you're around a 4 or 5 or 6, you're not really feeling hungry, you're just kind of wanting to eat something. And then especially if you're at a 1, 2, or 3, which would be not hungry at all and maybe even still full from your dinner, you definitely don't want to be eating at that point. So just kind of checking in with your body, with your stomach, how you're feeling, maybe find another distraction to take away from wanting to eat, whether it be reading or, coloring or doing a crossword puzzle, something else to just kind of take your mind away from the food. But once you kind of get in that habit for 3 weeks, it should get a lot easier.
I like what Becca shared with us, and that is brushing your teeth, because we all, we all have our nightly hygiene, floss, rinse, brush. And once that's done, you're not going to want to have to go through that routine all over again because it's just time consuming. But the reality is that if we are more intentional, this should help. So that was excellent. And one thing I would like to share also is that the later we stay up, and I encourage listeners and viewers to, this is going to impact your mental health also, is that we should be trying to get at least 8 hours of sleep every night. The later you stay up, the more we're going to snack. I'm guilty of it too. So from time to time, I will snack at night. But here's another question for Becca. If you're going to snack late at night, Becca, what would you recommend as a safe snack, for lack of a better term, where it's not going to impact your diet too much or impact your health too much?
So definitely something that's going to be lower calorie, nutrient rich. So maybe a little bit of fruit, some veggies with hummus or a dip. Popcorn is a really great low-calorie whole grain snack. That's one of my personal favorites.
Mine too.
But you do want to just watch out for not having too much butter and seasoning on there.
Mine too. Okay, so popcorn's a good snack, and I was interested to hear that from you, Becca, because I have to confess, Popcorn is a go-to for me also, and we don't want to overdo it because that, as Becca said, with too much seasoning and too much butter is going to have an impact also. So we just have to be more intentional. So that was an excellent question, and thank you, Becca, for clearing that up. I do have another question from one of our listeners and viewers. If someone had a drinking problem previously and is now in recovery, what would you recommend to improve their health and wellness? What would you recommend for diet and nutrition to improve their health and wellness?
So we would definitely want to be choosing foods that are anti-inflammatory, lots of antioxidants. So again, your fruits and your veggies,
Okay.
Whole grains, all those types of things. Staying away from the pro-inflammatory foods. So anything that's high in saturated fats, trans fats, added sugar is going to be good. So I actually mentioned the Mediterranean diet before. That is going to be a super great diet, really for anybody to follow, but especially for somebody that wants to have a diet high in antioxidants. That is going to be a great one. So there's tons of information out there on the internet about the Mediterranean diet. There's tons of studies which support it. So, that would be something that I would recommend to look into a little bit further.
Okay, and so I know this listener and viewer, I don't know them personally, but I know that they were asking this on behalf of their husband. So congratulations to your husband who is now in recovery, and we certainly are going to be prayerful that he will continue not only in his recovery but restoring his health and wellness. So Becca has given us some good ideas for that approach, and so I'm going to just take a moment, if I may, for one of our listeners and viewers, for one of our sponsors, Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, check their store hours, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. They have shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. And if you are not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And also the White Company, located in London, the UK. They have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York and a store at the Short Hills Mall in Short Hills, New Jersey. So if you're in either of those areas, check for their store hours, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. However, if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. So with us, as always, the first Thursday of the month, we have Becca, the dietitian.com, Rebecca Boova, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, with us right here to address topics that will improve our health and wellness and all of the communications that come in from our listeners and viewers regarding health and wellness. So Becca, I have several more questions, but I'm going to ask another question from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated, for someone who works out frequently, do you recommend a whey protein for them, or do you recommend something else?
So whey protein supplement can be a really great way to get a lot of extra protein in really quickly. So yeah, I think that if you like whey protein and it's something that you want to implement in your diet or continue taking, that's definitely a good thing to do, especially 1 to 2 hours after the workout. They really help maximize your muscle gains, and your post-workout recovery.
Okay, because they were saying in their communication that they had heard that there might be some research out there that said that whey protein might be a weight gaining product, and I wasn't aware of that, but I thought I would certainly ask you to weigh in on that. So thank you for clearing that up. I do want to say once again to all of our listeners and viewers, Becca and I are putting together a package where one of our listeners and viewers will be selected to be a client of BeccaTheDietitian.com, Rebecca Boova, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist. We will begin that project on July 1st. And so we'll be making that announcement next month in June, and we will select a listener and viewer who we will be tracking throughout the remainder of the year. So we will complete all the details and make that announcement over the next month so that we can launch for the 1st of July. But I want to say, Becca, as always, is there anything you would like to share with our listeners and viewers as we go off the air today so that we can...
No, I want to say thank you so much to everybody who has submitted questions and who tunes in. This has been really fun for me, and my goal is to just help get good information out there. So thank you for your support.
Well, you are certainly doing that, and we want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, you will see information that will be posted later by Becca to improve our health and wellness. So I want to say to everyone, let's make certain I know the Memorial Day